everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Women's Show here on Civic Space TV. I am your host for today. My name is Kirabo Marion, and today's topic is food security and women in trade. So a lot of us know what is going on in the country. The media has been awash by people in Karamoja starving. It has also been awash by the high prices of commodities. People are complaining. We have seen a number of strikes in Ginger and around. But today, we are going to dive into this topic, and the people going to help us to understand the situation that we're in are my lovely panelists for today. And I would allow them to introduce themselves, and let us start.
Hello viewers, good morning. My name is Kirungi Christine. I'm a managing director of Unicron Agro Business Limited. It is a private company, so when you talk about food security...
It's nice to have you here, Christine.
Thank you so much.
Thank you now, Marion. My name is Nyambura Julian, the Executive Director of Uganda Women in Trade and Manufacturing, and a woman in business.
Thank you, Julian, for being with us. Because you're not a new face on the show.
True.
I think all of us are not new apart from the lady.
Hello, Mariam. My name is Grace. I'm a producer of Kikazi Millet flour. I'm glad to be here.
Your name is again?
Akatuha Grace.
Grace. So thank you so much for joining us for today. And like I said, the topic we're talking about is generally food security. We are, I would say, in a global crisis of high prices. That even when you go to be it, let me say, Europe, where the Ukraine war is taking place, they're telling us because Russia has, they are no longer receiving oil from Russia, food prices have gone up. On the African continent, all over, even countries like Nigeria that export oil are also crying of high fuel prices. And you know that fuel affects everything, it then goes to the transportation of commodities around. And I will start with you, Christine. On when, as a woman in business, as a woman who has an entity, is this high prices thing a real thing, or because we are in a village economy, those things are not affecting us, they are global, or maybe they affect only people in the urban setting? For you, people in the villages are okay. So this high fuel prices, is it really the cause of the high commodities, or they're just people behind hiking prices? Now they're using the cover of high fuel prices to just hike everything.
Oh, thank you very much. First of all, as a woman doing business and doing it in agriculture, there are other factors majorly that are mainly affecting the food or bringing out the food prices. Right now, as we very well know, it has not trained, and our economy is not government fully supported with heavy pumping things, so that if there is no seasonal rain, that we can go on with our irrigations and go on and plant crops and do what? Majorly, those people who are planting maize, planting beans, are doing it on a small scale. We are heading for a famine in the next 2 years. Because the rain itself has not come, making it worse now that the fuel prices are very high. Everything is very, very high. For example, my farms are in Masindi, and I'm being very honest, I've not stepped on the farm for the last 2 months because of what? Transport. Yeah. So we are heading for a food crisis majorly. Yes, the fuel crisis is on,
but there's also a looming food crisis coming.
That is coming because we've not had rains in a long time, and nobody's even affected
Bad
or
as-
thinking that why. But if there is no rain, what are we going to do? You understand? But we are heading to a real famine. Because even those that had planted beans and maize, the harvest was not very good. Initially, when I was joining the agro business field, I entered the area buying sim. Last season was very, very low. We did not have too much harvest because it was affected by what?
The weather.
The weather. And you see, no one is even concerned about it. Yes, you know, where there is a problem, there are people who take opportunities out of those problems. So the fuel crisis being up, everyone, especially in our downtown, we call them because those people, because they are taking up advantage, and being in the capital economy as we are in Uganda, everyone for himself
and good for us all. But then when you say that government isn't ours is government is a bit detached from the farming industry, agriculture industry. I mean, I've seen projects like NADS, you know, coming up here, farmers being facilitated. Recently, they came up with parish models for especially for those of agriculture. They are claiming that they're investing in people's small businesses of farming and all that. So can we really say that government is not trying to kind of subsidize some of these effects that come along? Maybe we're the ones who are misusing the money.
That is not true. What I would say is basically government has done everything it thinks that it has done to improve people's involvement in everything. But you know, there are people who are at a forefront to play deals, okay? Which deal is coming? They front themselves there. You understand? The real beneficiaries, they don't get it. Okay, I do not know much about parish model things.
But NADS maybe.
About nuts, yes, that one I know, because when I was going into agriculture, I went there to see if I can get support. I even went to the wealth creation. I went to NADS to understand how things are done. But they say we are supporting communal things, okay? Now, you know, the communal things that someone is planting vegetables, then they bring someone that is planting beans, then they bring someone that has 2 banana matokis. They bring them together. To me, well, that is supporting the larger scale of people. But for something that can sustain the economy, they are commercial farmers, okay? Commercial farmers that grow food on a large scale. If it is maize, they plant 50 acres, but they are individuals.
Yes.
Why haven't the government planned for those people as well and said, now, if these people, they can make themselves together. Maybe let's say we make Eastern, we say how many commercial farmers do we have in Eastern? Let's say 10. Well, 3, because I can't say they will make 10. Then we say Southern, then they put their product that can meet them in their individual point of view, or that collects them. It is not really very right to say that someone who plants beans for consumption, I come, me who plant beans for export, and then we sit together, we rob ourselves together, and even the limitations of the money that they normally put there, it totally throws people off. For example, I've heard, I don't know if it is very true, I think Madam Julian will say about that the parish model, they are giving 1 million One person.
Is it one person? It's supposed to be like a group.
Okay.
A group of around 20 people gets like 5 million, isn't it?
Yes. A group, okay. If let's do some small mathematics here. If a group of people who are 20, you give them 5 million, how much is one supposed to take? About 500. So me who wants to plant 10 acres of beans, what will that 500 do for me? I'll step out. Okay? So I think the economists, they should go back on the drawing table and make sure that everyone is involved. Okay? There should also be a unit that does really monitor. We've given out money to NADS, yes. An independent one, not the government one. You know why I'm saying a government one? Because the catchy envelope will work for us all. Okay? An independent one that will say things the way they are. You gave NADS 10 billion. 4 billion were really used to what it was meant. Others went into administration costs and the sort of. But when they provide up a very independent report, that report will give the government or the planners the indication and how to plan better next time.
Okay. So Julian, just to pick up from where Christine said, she talked about there being an looming famine coming on because the rains have not come. The fuel prices have also had their own contribution given to the fact of transportation. But then in particular, she has also talked about infrastructure, the inadequacies of infrastructure. But as a woman in trade, do you think she's being alarmist? Are we in a food security crisis? Or it's just a passing, we will recover? Is it as bad as people say? Is what I'm trying to.
Thank you, Marion. If government doesn't intervene now, it's going to be famine, like she has said. We already see a scenario in Karamoja where actually famine is. People are dying. People are dropping and dying. So famine is something that we shouldn't look at as something we are reading in books. It's actually going to happen. But what's causing this food insecurity? At the moment, we have an issue of climate change. That's very paramount. Everybody can see. It's very hot. It's not raining. This is a time when it should be. Yes, July is normally a dry season. But if you go back 3 months, you can notice that rain would come in once, then disappear. So it would come in once, then disappear like for another month. So the climate itself, so farmers do not even know, should I plant? If I plant it, will I get what I've put in? So it's giving us an uncertainty in the agriculture industry. If you talk to farmers, most of the women who are in agro business, they will tell you that they are not sure of where the next sale, the next produce will come from. They are not sure of which areas, people who used to plant maize, they are not sure whether they will be able to get adequate maize. If you are following news, 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, Kenya, for the first time in a very long time, called for maize from Uganda. Yes. And all of you know what has been happening with Kenya and Uganda's maize issue. But they called out, even it was mentioned in parliament in Kenya, to allow Ugandan maize into Kenya. And I was very surprised by that. So I was like, already we are having a food crisis in the country. Now if Kenya opens its markets, what is going to happen? So I think these are things we don't need to look out with a soft touch. We need to be hard on this. Most of the I had mentioned it before, most of the people who are supposed to be doing agriculture are the youth. They are the energetic ones, they are the ones who are able to participate. But what are they doing? Most of the Ugandan youth are in Kampala. riding border borders, doing most of this informal trade.
Yeah.
We have, besides the urbanization where everybody thinks that they can make a living in Kampala, so who is staying behind to do the agriculture? The elders do not have energy to do the agriculture. So as a government, we need to put policies in place that are favorable enough for our youth to want to stay in villages. That's why I commend the parish development model. To some level, it is one way of attracting youth to stay and work from where they are. Because most of youth complain about capital. But when you bring money to them, then it would work. But my disagreement would be, or my misgivings are on how this is going to be implemented and whether everybody is going to benefit. Because in the PDM policy, they are saying graduates are not supposed to be getting this money.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
So when you say a graduate is not supposed to be getting, it's one way. I think government thought about it and said, if you're a graduate, then you don't
Go and look for
you're
a job.
probably not in need of this
So are
money.
we saying that the educated should stay away from agriculture?
So that's something that we need to look at. And those
Was
are,
it the same for the NADS? Was it the same, or the NADS was open to everyone?
NADS, I think, was open.
It
to
was
everyone.
open to...
NADS was a bit different. NADS was how much land do you have?
Yes.
It was how much land, but still you could see it was selective, because if you had less than an acre of land,
They don't.
you would not qualify for most of these projects. Are you getting me? Then you had, they needed a certain, you must have something before they could add on what you have.
They were not supporting status.
When you look at the other main issue that is causing food security is commercialization of food. Today, every food that is grown in every home in rural areas, the husband will look at it as food for sale. So there is little food that is being retained in the home for consumption. And that's causing a lot of food insecurity, by the way. And people and government is not addressing that issue. They are not putting a policy to say, if you grow maize, how much maize is supposed to be retained in your home for eating. But otherwise, you find people growing matoke or bananas, and then all the matoke is cut and sold. And people at home stay without food. And you'll hear the head of the house saying, go and buy posho and eat posho. Or you're not supposed to cut this bunch of matoke. So there is too much commercialization of food, such that all the food that is being grown, people are tending to selling it. And what happens in the home?
So we have become too capitalist for our own good.
Exactly. Then there is also an issue of information. Information is limited. Probably people do not know, if you eat bananas from Monday to Friday, what are the benefits in that food? And that ends up causing malnutrition. Some years back, there were statistics that Bushenyi district had the highest number of malnourished children. So you want a district like Bushenyi district, how would it have malnourished children? But that's the simple explanation
for it.
That they will say, eat matoke from January to December. And we all know that matoke is basically water. Doesn't
90%.
have, even the way, if you realize the way they peel matoke, when they are going to cook the matoke, they cut off almost all the nutrients. There would be nutrients are cut off and left as rubbish. So the children end up eating from the time they are born up to the time they are 5 years. That's the only food they know. That's the only food they know. So, and that food doesn't have enough nutrients. So all these are causing malnutrition in a way that, if government doesn't intervene and work on policies that can strengthen the food security and ensure that food is everywhere, there is equal distribution of food. How do we ensure that Karamoja is good with cattle? Okay, we are not going to force the Karamojong people to grow food now. It's
No,
not in
of
their
course not.
culture.
It is not
It's
in
not
their
in their
way.
blood to find the Karamojong holding a hoe. It's not in their culture. There is no way you'll find the Karamojong holding. But so what do we do? But they need the food, right? So what do we do? Now, this is whereby we have to design. Government has to design programs to ensure that food from Mbare, because that's more of a growing a farming area,
can reach Karamoja.
This food goes to Karamoja, and then the Karamojong
Can
send
maybe-
cattle,
yes, okay.
because we all know that the Bagis love meat. We send the meat to Bugisu. So we do some bit of like exchange of food. We know there is a lot of millet in the west, or in the Teso region.
East.
So how do we ensure that millet from Teso region moves to Karamoja, and cattle or beef moves to the east? So probably these are things that government, but how do they make sure that these programs are implemented? Than money. Some of these things go beyond money. So how do we ensure that as a nation, we understand our weaknesses, from which area to which area, and how do we ensure that we balance? Then given the climate change issue, how do we ensure that now there is a climate, how do we mitigate? How do we mitigate the climate change, the climate issue, and ensure that areas that are dry can be able to grow something? There is a program I saw somewhere where the Karamojong were growing a lot of cabbages, and they were looking so beautiful. So I think that's a program that they should have really put a lot of energy into, and probably ensure that these cabbages can be exchanged. After they've grown, they can be exchanged with another crop. So, Marion, I think it is all about how we plan for the country.
Okay.
Food is about how we plan. It's like in a home. How do you ensure that your home has food in a very sustainable way? Thank you.
Thank you for that explanation. I'll come to you, Grace, the farmer. You know, you told us that you have you supply millet flour. So we have talked about what is going on in the country. Christine and Julian have shined the light on what is going on, especially in the food sector. As an agriculturalist, why haven't we found solutions for some of these problems? We have been crying about famine. I think every time that there's a dry season, this is not the first time we're having food insecurity. I remember seeing the president going around the country with a jerry can talking about irrigation.
Irrigation.
Did it work?
I don't know. Maybe Grace will enlighten us. You know, what happened to the irrigation model? You know, these things were started by government that we're going to have new irrigation systems. We can debate about whether they were sustainable, given the fact that materials that I saw were very rudimentary. But maybe you can say that those are the flexible and cheap materials that people in the village could get. And perhaps government was looking at something that is inexpensive, but also effective. But and accessible. You can always get a jerry can. You can always get like a small pipe and put in holes. And you know, why aren't these things working? Why are we still complaining over? Why are we still depending on the weather? Dry season, wet season, and we live or die depending on the weather. You know, other countries have progressed. I mean, people are growing fruits in the desert. You know,
An example is Egypt.
Yes, Egypt, Israelis, they even export some of these things across the world. You know, but we have rain, we have lakes, we have dry, we have forests. Everything is there. Why is it that we can't seem to find a solution to this thing called climate change?
Thank you, Marion. Many programs, as you said, they've been really introduced. But then it comes back to implementation. How effective is it? For example, if you talk of irrigation, Are the equipments there? Are they well distributed? Is the public well educated? Do they understand it? So at times you find people don't know. They don't have that actual access. Then also the youth, as she spoke, people who would be really engaged. After school, they run to the city. But then the question goes back to us. Why do they run away? It's because conditions are not sustainable. Even if you're a farmer and you're planting something, do you have the market? You find you have your products, but they buy them cheaply. Who will transport them? So it also goes back to the infrastructure. So you find we don't have accessible markets where you can take your goods, people to buy them, because fuel is high, so the transportation costs are high. So people don't buy. Then also the roads are not accessible. Probably they are in a poor state. So however much projects and programs are brought on board, we have to look at the implementation. We have to go back to the villages and we see how best can we implement this. When we talk of food, yes, some people are growing food. There is food. People are growing. Some people are planting. But then there are different seasons. If Western Uganda has a lot of matoke, maybe Central does not. But then how do we interchange? Probably you could open markets. You say you put markets, open markets, whereby these ones bring this, we do the barter trade, probably. I'm just thinking. So still we have to go back on a drawing board and we see how best can we implement these programs that are brought on board. Yeah.
I wanted to say something. Before me, when I was a young girl, we used to take the coffee at the trade society. Was it called?
Cooperatives.
Cooperative. So everyone would go to the garden, plant, knowing that at the end of the season, I'm selling my coffee at the cooperative. Where are they? Were they eaten by privatization?
Most probably. Well, because the government apparently, had put us in a crisis. So for us to get out of it, we sold everything.
Okay.
That is the explanation. At least I've had since I was young.
So you see.
But I think there was a plan to revive.
And what?
I am not sure.
Yeah,
there were talks of reviving.
Through they're actually putting up their plans to bring back the cooperative bank, the cooperative bank. So
mind you, most of our Ugandan banks have died, but okay. I wonder how they will sustain that one.
I understand through the cooperative alliance. The cooperative alliance, they are trying to, the one that works so much with the circles and cooperatives. So they are trying to revive a cooperative bank. So I do not know whether it will be possible when the actual cooperatives are no longer in existence. Because the other ones were more of the cooperatives that we have now that are sounding and more successful are these money cooperatives, these circles, savings and credit societies. Those are but the actual crop cooperatives, I think in this country, the ones that we have that are still sounding is the Bugisu Coffee Cooperative. And I think the Banyankore Kweter, and I don't know whether it is still in existence, but I've heard that they are reviving it because that's where we got most of our school fees. I really remember my father got most of the school fees through the Banyankore Kweter, where they used to get their proceeds from their crops. I do not know another one which is a crop cooperative that is doing very well. But plans are there to revive the cooperative bank. But I do not know about the actual cooperatives, crop cooperatives. I'm not very sure.
You see, the crop cooperatives used to bring market closer to people. Even the youth of that time, they would plant seasons. If he's going to marry, for example, he's 20. by then you would marry at 20. He plants a season, knowing that there is a market in the center. Once my harvest is ready, they're going to buy it. I get money. I go and shop for the young lady and I marry her off. But now, since those markets are no longer nearer to the people, and let me tell you, I'll give you an example. When you're in the car, don't you see boys selling pineapples? They give you 5 or 6 at 10,000. So think about it. Me, the farmer who produced it, how much did I sell? To the extent that now the final seller is selling the entire 6 pieces at 10,000.
And yet in the perhaps in the market it was maybe at they got it from me at
2,000.
2,000.
And you know the hard work. Do you know the hard work of
a farmer?
Of the farm of pineapples? I have one. By the way, I've abandoned it in Busi. You know, the pineapples have thorns. So when you are weeding them, they scratch you, and then after you go and sell a pineapple at 2,000. No way. I will just leave it the way it is and I sell me cheap. There is no markets that are coming near to the farmers. Okay, and most of the farmers are still on the traditional way of farming. Which takes a lot of time and energy, and then there is no market.
But I want anyway, yeah. I get what you're saying, but this is a general question to all of you. So we are here talking about climate change, what's this, climate change that, but we seem to be in a predicament that whereas we are aware, and this is due to global, it's a crisis. I've been hearing that there are wildfires all over Europe.
Heat waves.
Yeah, heat waves coming all over Europe. So they have it worse than us, And maybe for them it's because there's no much green plantation left there, and they have so many factories and oil. But we were having a conversation recently. It was a debate, and I think the president kind of also, how can I say, the way he brought it, he just blew it out of proportion for me, because the solutions he was giving seemed so out of this world. I think most of us have heard why the efforts against environmentalists to against the oil exploration project, and they have been going everywhere in order to stop the oil exploration in Uganda, due to the effects of climate change and the fact that it will affect the natural vegetation, and it's going to happen in a game park. So
The animals.
animals, and but also the water sources. They're around the Albert, Lake Albert. So it has been a big conversation about, we are a poor country. The oil wells can actually bring for us a lot of opportunities, maybe even improve the economy, depending on how the government is generous enough to use them for the sake of the people. Of course, yes, there's the issue of oil not always working for the people that are exploring it, but
The oil curse.
yes, the oil curse they call it. But that's besides the point. I want to focus on creating jobs opportunities, but maybe in the long run also cutting on the fuel prices, because then you can manage them. I mean, the oil is coming from your country. Let us ignore the fact that for Nigeria it has not worked that way. For them, they don't have a refinery. Their refineries, I was talking to a Nigerian professor, and they were telling me that their refineries are there, but they have never been repaired. They are not sure if that is deliberate by government or something else. But let us assume we actually refine our own oil, so we have a control over it, and maybe we can adjust the fuel prices. But there's also the argument of climate change and how it is affecting the country. Where do we strike the balance, I had the president talking about, well, let us look at electronic cars, but as a country, really, I mean, even in America, they are still struggling with the production of electronic cars.
Yes.
So by the time we come to Uganda here and we create those spots of electricity, you know, they're like petrol stations, but now these ones are for electronic cars.
Yeah.
How will that work?
But
You
also
buy-
production. Yes, we have produced. You have seen I think we have so far had like one. There's a prototype of an electronic car
From
that we
Kiria?
had. From Kiria, those Kiria. But do we have the capacity to invest in electronic cars right now, as the government was saying? So, and if we don't have, then are we just supposed to leave this oil under the ground? Because already we have a crisis. Our dependence on the oil of other economies are putting us in this situation.
I mean, the story of Ugandan oil is a mysterious story. It's a mystery. So I don't, and I'm intrigued. I was actually thinking about it, and I was like, I've not heard anybody talk about our own oil. In this whole crisis of oil going to 7,000, nobody has spoken about our own oil. That way is our oil, our own Ugandan oil.
They're saying your own oil has been prevented from. They are fighting. The company is trying to explore it.
So this is a conversation that started over 10 years ago. The oil conversation.
Yeah.
So I do not know how much money government has pumped into this project.
Yeah.
I don't know whether we are getting a deal, a good deal as a nation. And I do not know whether as a country we are asking enough questions. We need to start asking questions. Which are these companies that are not coming through? That are not finishing with whatever they are starting? How about before we even did an oil refinery? Do we even need an oil refinery in the first place? Why couldn't we first process the oil? Like you're saying, Nigeria is the biggest producer of oil in Africa. But currently they do not have an oil refinery.
Yeah.
The person who is putting up an oil refinery is Mr. Dangote. He's the one putting up a private oil refinery, his own. So you realize that, have we asked questions that can we do without the oil refinery? Are there more urgent things that as a nation we need to focus on than the bigger picture as we grow, as we learn on job? Like, is there a way we can process oil and have it distributed without actually first having it to send it to Tanzania through the oil refinery? Then I don't know where it is processed, and then I don't know, and then again, then it comes back to Uganda. It's a game that I do not understand. But I think as Ugandans, we need to begin to ask questions. We need to begin to ask the questions. Are we getting the right deal? Is it coming at the right time? Are Ugandans getting the fair deal? This is our product. It's our generation. This is a product we heard of in our generation. So in my generation, I want to see this oil.
Yeah.
I would love to see this. I would love to see.
I was in second when they were talking about the oil.
Yes, I need to see this Ugandan oil. I know my daughter could be the one who will enjoy this oil. But then we are asking, what's the problem? There is so much money. When they read the Ugandan budget, this year's budget, it was 41 trillion. 41 trillion. I want to see where, as a Ugandan, is it anywhere still 41 trillion with these oil prices? I don't think.
I'm not sure.
I heard there is already I think they are passing other supplementary budgets already. Before a month.
Are guaranteed they're part of the budget, so we don't talk about them.
Before a month. So we are saying by the end of the financial year, how many supplementary budgets are we going to deal with? So we are saying that as a country, we've not had any communication. Like someone coming out and saying, you know, Uganda, we've been waiting for oil, and the reason it's delaying, probably it would have worked in this crisis, but this is the reason why it's not. Are we getting any fair communication from government to assure Ugandans that, yes, we are cooking food for you in the kitchen, but as we are waiting, it's like people are starving dying of hunger when food is being cooked in the kitchen. There needs to come out someone and stand in between and say, this is the reason why food is not coming out. Either we put in a lot of salt, so we are trying to refine it, or it got burnt, we are trying to improvise. That's the best example I can give. So it's unfortunate that oil at the end of the day is affecting all the other services. It's even getting into the human part of Ugandans, whereby food are even people are not even getting food. It's very unfortunate. It's affecting businesses. It's affecting the economy. It's affecting people's livelihoods. Schools are closing earlier than anticipated.
Yeah, I've also heard about that.
Yeah,
Because
most
people are
schools
saying
actually closing
they don't
this
have
week
what to pay
because
to feed.
Admittedly,
The
there is
portion
no
is now at 4,000 a kilogram.
Yes,
so
there is no school that can run in the next 2 weeks. There is no school that can be able to run in the next 2 weeks.
So we're going to see very brought near holidays.
No, most of them are closing this week.
Really?
Yes, on Friday. So
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
because they realize they cannot sustain the children at school. So you see how this whole thing is.
That's terrible, because how I thought people are going into mocks.
I think there is a way some schools are going to play around with it, but the ones I know and those of us that have been informed that we come and pick our children at the end of this
because
week.
They cannot afford
this morning
to
I talked to a head of teacher and a certain head teacher was telling me, no, we are closing this week. We cannot continue. So we are losing 2 weeks. Remember, children were locked up for 2 years. Now they are, before that, now children are not getting what they are supposed to get because head teachers are also fighting with the economy, trying to see how they balance.
Okay.
So
okay.
So to add on something small,
let us have that after the break. Let us go for a short break, but we'll be back and we'll start right from here.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Welcome back to the break, and right now let us head into the discussion that we're already having. Grace, you wanted to say something to add on Julian's point about the oil exploration?
yeah, thank you so much. Every day as you wake up, you find the change in the price in terms of fuel. You find if it was 6,200, Eka 100 has added or 200 every day, it's a norm. So you find it keeps changing. So to me, I think this would be an opportunity of the Ugandan government to really think about our oil as soon as possible. They should act, because if we really have our own oil, and why would we suffer? There's an option. Yeah, I know it could be a longer process, to put it.
But then the trouble right now is the president's argument is that economies are going away from oil. Yes, it's the now thing, but in 20 years or 10 years, it may not be. But already the government has a pushback from environmentalists, and they have been everywhere. I've seen them. They've been attacking the French government because they're accusing it of of its companies. They're trying to get the companies which the French government has control over to stop whatever projects they are doing in Uganda around oil. And the argument is we need to get this thing called climate change under what? Control. Because we are suffering. There are heat waves all over Europe. In Uganda, there is famine. In Karamoja, there is famine. So we need to get this thing under control. So I'll go back to my initial question. How do you get that balance? Yes, we need the oil. It's working for us right now. It could help the situation right now. But then in 10 years from now, we might have moved away from it, or because you know the whole world is looking for a solution around climate change. So they go into all these meetings and say, for you, you're going to cut down 10% of your, let me say, emissions remission, and you have to find a way to cut it down to 10% of it. What is your contribution to climate change? And so our government seems to be in a very tight spot right now, that it has international obligations to make sure that it is on the same page with other people in making sure that they handle this climate change issue. On the other hand, there is the oil thing that can perhaps settle most of our problems right now.
All right. Sorry if I will be harsh, but typically Mchiga person is, I would say that even if we so want to be perfect with climate change, as they are saying, I think we are not going to, from day one, boom, that's it, we are free of emission. It should be done in phases. So these people who are shouting about environment, what are the good things they are proposing?
Actually, they're telling you go to electronic cars, go to electricity.
I want to tell you, even if in the world they are where they are very developed, where they use robots, applications, software, they still use human beings for labor. Even if we want so much, okay? Some things can never totally phased out. So we can work in hand and bring it in phases, and we build up a balance. Coming to Uganda's oil, the truth is, I've heard there is Uganda Oil Company. I don't know what it does. Do you know? Do you know what it does? But me as a layman person, I don't know. Or have they done enough to sensitize the people? Are they giving us the information that we deserve to have as a nation? Okay. I just heard that Tano Oil exited. Is there anyone who came out and said, you know what? I think it was Uganda Oil Company enterprise's role to say we have parted with the Tano oil due to ABCDEFG, but they have worked up to this place and stopped at this place. You understand? Yes, I understand the president is urge of standing in good books of international credits are the way they work. But we are not on the same level. We are not. You cannot say that we are on the same level with the USA. No, we are not. For example, me as a mother, I would give a good example. I cannot compare myself to the neighbor because the neighbor is cooking chicken every day. I start also saying, we shall eat chicken every day. No, I will call my children and I say, look here, you people, we cannot afford chicken as of now. But when we eat beans, we can supplement the beans with oil for the next day. That's it. Okay? So the policymakers, whether they are moving forward to get to the standard of the world, which is a very good idea, they should also put their own into consideration, onto the forefront. You're not going to praise the neighbor's husband when yours is miserable. You understand? First praise your husband, then you run to the neighbor's husband to praise him for whichever things he has done. So the issue of oil, we need information. I have seen Kenya and Tanzania, I think Tanzania basically, which came and said, we are buying fuel to add on the national reserves. And Uganda said what? Please go to the electronic cars. Is there a factory selling electronic cars?
In Uganda.
Anyway, not even in Uganda. We are a landlocked country. You understand?
But even the electronic cars so the prices are about 200 million.
And now to make it worse, is adding on the taxes of importation.
That is before taxes, actually.
Importation. Then also add on now that the fuels are high. I think even the prices for shipping that car will also go high. Let us work on what is available that can bring down the situation. If they can borrow these trillions they are borrowing, where my great-grandson has to pay, why don't they borrow for a good cause of buying fuel and bringing down the prices before we reach that level of buying the electronic cars?
Okay, very well said, Christine. So let us dive into the other part of the national debate right now, Karamoja. A lot has been said about it in the past 1 year or two, from the raids, and people killing each other, disarmament, to now to gold and all these types of minerals that are there, and now to maybe the street kids who are trafficked there. I think if you saw that documentary by I think Kanari Mugume on NBS, to now, so there seems to be a lot going on in just that one patch of the country. So many things. There's a kind of complexity of issues in this one area, and now the most current one is the malnutrition and people dying from hunger. I think I checked in the Daily Monitor? I think Daily Monitor on New Vision, 900 people have died of hunger in Karamoja. There have been different things going on. At first, people were like, it's a hoax, it is just people who have cropped up, government officers somewhere who have cropped up.
900 or 9?
900. It was 900 people. Yeah, nearing. It's just missing 100 to make 1,000 people dying of hunger. That's how bad it is.
Well, I think let's first see what's the problem with Karamoja.
What is the problem with Karamoja?
Why is Karamoja special? If you realize Karamajonga pastoralists, they are pastoralists, so they are not commonly traders. They don't do a lot of trading, if you realize. They don't do any other type of farming. Apart from being pastoralists. But there are so many factors that are causing this. Like we've already talked about, there is an issue of climate change. We want to go back into that. Climate change is affecting everybody. Yeah,
especially them, because pasture and water.
Yes. Pasture and water. This morning I was reading on Twitter, one of the common figures on Twitter was saying how their coffee is drying. Is completely drying, and their coffee is in Mubende. So they were making a pledge, like they were crying out, something needs to be done. And Mubende is one of the most cool areas, by the way. Those of you who have been to Mubende, it's one of the most cool, one with the most favorable weather conditions. It's never too dry, it's never too cold. So it's an average, a very good agricultural area. So, but Karamoja is a very dry area, first. And then given the current weather situation,
it has become even drier.
It is even more drier. So it's more susceptible to getting drastic weather effects. Then, like we've said before, there has been a lot of movement of Karamojong people into other areas. They've moved to Jinja, they've moved to Mbare, they've moved to Kampala. They've tried to move away from those harsh conditions. So there is and if you realize in the news, the most badly affected people, though we can't see everybody, are the elderly and the children. Have you noticed that? So the mothers, the young ones, are trying to move out to look for food, to fend for themselves. And the badly affected are those who cannot move. These elderly people they feel their lives have been in Karamoja all through. Their lives cannot fit anywhere else. So they would rather die there where they are. So I feel it's unfortunate. There are so many other programs that could intervene. There is the elderly program. Where did it go? That is supposed to give money to elderly people. It's unfortunate that I've not heard enough from the Minister of Karamoja. Madam Agnes Nandutu. She had a journalistic background, but I don't think she has used
and she was vocal.
And she was
vocal.
She already had a brand whereby whenever whatever she said,
Parliament, right?
Yes, whatever she said, people listened. And I remember her People's Parliament was mainly focused on Karamoja. It did a lot of coverage on Karamoja. Yes, if you look at the archives. So I don't think as a minister she has done enough. I'm sorry to say I don't know what happens behind, what goes on behind.
In fact, she's the
in
worst.
the ministry.
Well, she hasn't told people what she's doing.
But I don't think she's has
the
used
worst
her.
performer.
I don't think she has used her voice enough to raise the issues in her ministry. She needs to even appear in Parliament. I've not had her give a statement.
Well, I've also not had her
on the Karamoja issues.
I see her more in her home constituency.
So I think we also need to look at the information. Has government got enough information about the Karamoja situation? That's also another big cause. Has government got enough information from the Karamoja situation? What are the leaders on the ground? What are they doing? Have they tried to put out this information as early as enough for it not to wait for a member of parliament to cry on the floor of parliament, to be emotional on the floor of parliament, or for us not to wait and see pictures of traumatizing pictures of children dying of hunger? That makes as mothers, it makes us cry. As a nation, we shouldn't be going through that. When you look at your own children and look at these children who are dying 4 years, 2 years, it's a cry that everybody needs to raise up. If it means contributing food, if it means doing something, it may not be sustainable, but everybody of us has a responsibility towards the Karamojong. And then the other very pertinent issue is the insecurity in Karamoja. You realize that these have been recurring issues. First, it was the insecurity that was persistent. The UPDF was always intervening. It was talked about several times. And then it is followed by famine and hunger. So insecurity has caused a lot of course, when there is insecurity, there are no people who are going to the gardens. People will keep locked up in their own houses. They will not go to dig. There will not be any form of trading. Open markets will be closed. So, I mean, people cannot even access food in their own areas. People who are going to sell food to Karamoja, the trucks fear to go there. World Food Program is a bit hesitant to send there their people, their staff to be killed.
Because of insecurity.
So insecurity is a very key when it comes to Karamoja issues. And then also there is something that we don't normally talk about, we've not talked about, the elections in Kenya. Karamoja is very near to Kenya. And if you notice that, if you realize that the Kenyan elections started almost 8 months ago, or a year, for them the elections have been there. It's like they've never stopped since 8 months ago. The campaign is almost started last year, though the formal formal campaigns started a few months back, or I think 2 months back. In August, we are having elections in Kenya. So normally, an area that has elections tends to attract a lot of youth. So most youth could be running to Kenya to pick on the goodies that come with elections. The goodies that come with elections. So most youth could be running there and forgetting their mother area. So the elections in the neighboring area normally attract, they tend to let the people not go into a working mode. They tend to get distracted so much. So the elections in Kenya could be affected. Then there also, if you notice in the Horn of Africa, there is a persistent famine in the Horn of Africa, right from Somalia down. I think because of the drought and whatever, but but that should not be an excuse to let our people die of hunger. Something should be done. But I think those are the main reasons why Karamoja has these issues. But as a government, what are we doing? As citizens of the country, what do we do to ensure that the situation doesn't get that bad, whereby we have to lose over 900 people because of famine,
because of hunger.
Because of hunger, and the way hunger kills so bad.
Once the basket
of
basket.
food.
Yeah.
When I was coming, we were having a discussion with her, and she was saying, but there is a lot of food in this country. For example, like a bunch of matoke in Mbarara now is 1,000. It is
Where is that food? For us here, it's 15.
It is 200.
16.
It is 2,000.
It's 2,000.
If you buy it in the garden, it's 2,000.
No, that's what I said.
But when you add like the fuel prices, like we are saying,
it makes
now
it to 16.
Makes it go to 16. Then another issue is the distribution of food in this country. A trader will now see it as very, very expensive to drive food to Karamoja, because they'll find themselves selling that bunch at 50,000 because of the fuel. So those traders who have been bringing food to Kampala and proceeding...
Maybe we should resort to the train. Was there a train going to Karamoja once?
That's a topic of another day. Because that's infrastructure. Like, that's a topic that I was going to talk about. Like, if we had proper infrastructure, like trains, it would be very easy to transport food to Karamoja very cheaply. So because the infrastructure
doesn't use Simani fuel.
There are so many ways of developing infrastructure. Because, for example, we need silos, food silos, whereby when food is in plenty, it's kept in these big storage. Government should always have silos where food is stored in very huge warehouses that are owned by government. Like in our villages, what we used to call, and I'm sure in Karamoja, granaries, the granaries.
Yeah,
that provision, every government should take responsibility and ensure that it has those food silos.
But we used to have
food like...
What happened?
Because the society, trade society, crop societies are no more. So where will the government get the food from?
Yes, because if cooperatives were there...
Even if I kept it, who will buy it?
So
they will buy me like a dead cow. That's why they deserted them.
Now, I am looking into the eyes of the government, and I say...
While you're looking into the eyes of government, please answer for us Julian's question. Why aren't the leaders of Karamoja interested in their country? Sorry, in their region?
Now, first of all, we should know that, have you seen a Karamojong boy or girl in the university?
They're there.
Yeah, they're there.
A few of them. How many? Let's say 10 out of 100.
There are very many at Kovab in Makere.
Okay, they are about 10 out of 100. Okay?
They are rare, but they are there.
So what am I saying? They are boys. And where are the girls?
The boys are there.
You see? Which means most cases, when a parent has 3 children, 2 girls and 1 boy, the boy will go and marry, but the girl will always come and take care of the mother. my mother is sick, I'll go to the mother. You think these elderly that are dying as of now, if these Karamoja girls had been educated fully, wouldn't they be doing something about it?
But I think the levels of education are on both sides. But I would even think that even the boys are very few to take care of anyone, even if they wanted to. But also,
how many members of parliament do we have from Karamoja? And how many members of parliament do we have from Mbarara? I just need us to have a picture, okay?
how many are there?
So what I'm saying is, maybe all the effort that has been put into the Karamoja region, as Julian is saying, why is it so special, have not been targeting the real problem. Okay? First of all, Karamoja as a region, it is dry, and everyone knows about it. It is so dry. There are very many NGOs that are doing livelihood and agriculture. If the government cannot do itself, let it pass that monies through the what?
NGOs.
The NGOs to devise better ways of making agriculture that is sustainable in that area. Yeah, there government will get rest assured that the monies will not stop in the air there or somewhere. Then another issue is about the leadership. Okay, I know those people have LC1, LC3, LC5. They do. They even have a full minister in this crisis that is alarming.
And they have gold.
Have they come out and said, let's go and face World Food Program and say, please come and intervene at this moment. Please, we need an emergency food for these people. No.
So I haven't they?
I don't know, because I've been asking myself. In fact, I've been calling out Agnes, Madam Agnes Nandutu. I was like, does she really, she forgot her job or what? So a lot has not been done by the leadership of what? Of the Karamoja leaders as a whole. So I am calling out those leaders in Karamoja. Please wake up and do something
for
your own people. Me, I will shout here, hey! But I'm going back to eat my posho and beans. Because my grandmother sent me the beans from the village. But your grandmother cannot work. And she cannot even get the food. It is right now that you should grab this opportunity of the crisis. You stand together and you seek out help. If you're going to ask food from NGOs, please do. If you're going to ask the food from the government, please do. And when the food is given to you, please give it to those people that are in their need of it than the food itself getting lost in the air.
Okay, thank you. Grace, as a farmer, what advice would you give the people in Karamoja right now? I'm sure perhaps you've interacted with all types of farming. You might specialize in millet flour, but at least you've interacted with farmers across the board, both animal and crop farming. What advice would you give the people of Karamoja or their leaders? How do they move on? Because this is not the first time that we're hearing of such stories from Karamoja. It's a recurring thing, like Julian has said. So what are the solutions, immediate and maybe long term?
First of all,
is there a way to diversify animal farming so that they don't have to abandon it completely? Because clearly it's part of their culture and we can't tell them to all of a sudden become cultivators. Yeah.
What I can say, we need to find a sustainable solution. For example, she spoke of somebody growing cabbages, and I was really thinking about it. How possible was it? So probably there is an opportunity there, but maybe they are not aware. So we need to find out what can they grow, or what can we do, something that will be so sustainable to them to provide food. Then also However much we may send food there, ministries or NGOs, it's not sustainable. They will not send food forever. So they must do something. And to me also, it's a call to the media. Probably you could help us dig.
Find out, yes.
Yes, go on ground, find
Because
out.
it's so dark in there. We don't seem to know what's going on.
At times we may speak on their
everyone
behalf
is afraid
when we don't know actually what is the problem. If cabbages can be grown there, why can't they take up the opportunity other than sleeping hungry? Can you go on ground? You speak to the LC1 chairperson, LC3, that way. Then you also, we are saying maybe the minister is not doing her job. Have you interviewed her? What is she saying? Probably maybe there are some other underlying factors that we are not aware of. So to me, I feel we need to go an extra mile, find out much more, then we seek for a solution.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think for me, my call would be, as a trade community, we are here as traders. I would encourage, I think there is something that we need to do to encourage more trade in Karamoja. Probably that's how the food will get down there. But, and then call upon NGOs to ensure that. But that's not a sustainable way of ensuring that in the next 5 months, these people will be getting food. We need to get our fellow citizens from a hand of begging for food.
Okay.
That's depriving someone of their right.
Okay.
If someone is begging for food, you're depriving them of their right. And then, by the way, there is another big factor that is causing all this that we tend to overlook.
So, while you conclude and give your closing remarks in maybe just 1 minute, because we are past time, and so that other people.
Yes, my core is that let the government also control the population that is coming in this country. We are having a burst of the population from refugees. The number of refugees that enter this country is overwhelming. And all these come and consume food. They stretch the hands of the NGOs. The World Food Program gets stretched because of the number of people that are entering the country. And I think we are tending to focus more on refugees and forgetting our own people.
The national.
If you realize how much resources go into refugees and compared to the resources that are going into our own people, the margins are shocking. So as we make conclusive remarks, I would like to call on Ugandans to ensure that we go back to farming. This country is on a foundation of agriculture. It's the backbone of this country. Whoever coined out that statement wasn't lying. Even up to today, everything in this country runs around agriculture. The economy is around agriculture. The trading is around agriculture. Business is around the agriculture. So we need to find ways of encouraging the youth.
To join agriculture.
To join agriculture.
Grace, your last parting shots in just 5 seconds.
Thank you. I would also call upon young people to take up agriculture. For example, if you can do something, still there is market, you can juggle around. However much there are challenges, there are problems. For example, if fuel is high, you use a bicycle to transport your bunches of matoke. It's hectic, yes, it's hectic, but then you can survive on that. For the meantime, as we are thinking through of a longer sustainable solution. So you have to think outside the box to do something for yourself.
Christine?
Now, me,
as you conclude in just...
As I conclude, I am calling
seconds.
out, I'm calling out to policymakers, saying, let us put the weight on what we are best known for, okay? If we are best known for agriculture, let us put much effort to improve it, and we follow and we monitor, and we know that all the programs we have designed, are they working? Have they been tested? Yes, if they've been tested and they are working. So the other implementers, for example, the truth be told, there is no way when these prices are escalating high and the salary is not even moving an inch whatsoever, that you will expect people to do the right implementation. No. Let us balance the things. If the chameleon changes the color, try as the policymakers also to do what?
Change your colors.
To run towards that color. You may not get exactly the ame green if it has changed, like but at least you can become lemon. So let us have solutions that are real, solutions that are at least
like a chameleon,
like at least almost getting
to the situation.
Yes, and also I don't know, the young people who are selling land to buy bodas. That is not right. A boda will die in 3 weeks, in 3 months, but land cannot get.
But you see, you have the land, but you cannot do anything with it.
Let us be encouraged
but
to go.
But man will tell you, I earn 50K per day. Yeah, and that's a lot of money. Okay, thank you so much, our dear panelists.
Thank you, Marion.
Thank you so much for explaining to the viewers what is going on. Thank you for always being available for the show.
Thank you.
And that is it for today. Thank you. Catch us again, same time, same day, here on the Women's Show on Civic Space TV. Bye.